The sea stretched in every direction, a vast, undisturbed sheet of glinting steel. The sun hung low on the horizon, casting long fingers of light across the rippling waves, like some celestial god reaching for the ship that dared trespass its sacred emptiness. That ship was the Providence, a sturdy vessel of oak and pitch, its sails swollen with the Atlantic wind. It creaked and groaned with each push of water, like an old man murmuring in his sleep. Above, the gulls had long since vanished, and only the sky and sea remained as companions. It was the spring of 1623, and we were 3 weeks into our crossing. The promise of the new world lay ahead like a golden dream. Fertile land, wild forests, and freedom, sweet freedom, from the rigid laws and rotting poverty of the old country. Everyone spoke of it with reverent awe, their voices low with excitement. The children played on deck with rag dolls and rope, their mothers knitting or peeling potatoes with calloused hands. The men gathered in clusters around barrels, speaking gruffly of land claims and hunting rights, oblivious to the cold that was beginning to seep into everything. I was one of 6 women topside. My name is Eleanor Winslow. I was 23 years old and recently widowed, with no children, no home left in England, and nothing to lose. That's what gave me the courage to go. Or maybe it was the desperation. Perhaps there's no difference between the two. I had a paper-thin hope that I might make a new life in America. One where I could breathe freely, earn my keep, and never again be told what I could or could not do simply for being a woman. But as the days wore on and the sun grew colder, something began to change. Not in the weather, though that too turned spiteful, but in the air itself. It was a feeling, a needle sliding beneath the skin, a silence between the ship's creaks, like something listening. It began with small things. The ship's cat vanished first. She had been a surly old gray thing, clinging to life with more determination than any of us. Then came the dreams. I'd wake in the night shivering, heart pounding with forgotten images, and a taste of salt and ash in my mouth. I was not alone in this, though no one else would admit it aloud. One morning, I found a crucifix hanging beside my cot, twisted backward. I asked the quartermaster if anyone had been through the lower decks at night. He snorted, said I should be grateful no man had, and went about his business. That evening, I found 3 more crucifixes, other passengers, hung in the same backward manner outside the galley. Still, they all laughed when I mentioned it. The sea does strange things to the mind, the captain said, his teeth yellow from pipe smoke. Best not dwell on shadows. But that night I saw it. It was just past midnight, and I had awoken with a strange certainty that I was being watched. My cot was in the lower hold where the unmarried women and widows slept, the air thick with damp wool and mildew. I sat up, clutching my shawl, and looked around. The others were asleep. But in the farthest corner, where the lantern light barely reached, there was movement. Not a rat, not a person. Something tall and thin, with 2 long arms and a head that was slightly tilted, as though listening for something only it could hear. It didn't move like a man. There was a fluidity to it, a wrongness, as though it were made of smoke or shadow, but had the weight of something real. Its fingers brushed the wood of the hull, slow and deliberate, like it was feeling the grain of the ship. I opened my mouth to scream, but nothing came out. And then it looked at me. No eyes, just the sense of being seen. Not looked at, but seen. Like it peered through my bones and into whatever part of me still believed in salvation. I must have fainted. When I woke, The morning bell was ringing, and the women were rising, tying their hair back, whispering of breakfast. No sign of what I'd seen. But I knew it hadn't been a dream. I told the captain. I told the first mate. I told anyone who would listen. But they only chuckled and said I was a bit sea-stirred, and that women ought not read into shadows. 2 more days passed. Then Seamus Brigg, a barrel-chested man with a filthy laugh and a temper to match, was found dead behind the mainmast, not torn or bloodied, just dead. Eyes wide open, mouth frozen in a silent scream. No mark on him, though his skin was cold and stiff. A physician among us said it was a heart seizure, but I saw the doubt in his eyes. At night, the creaking of the ship began to take on a cadence. It sounded like a voice, mumbling beneath the boards, too low to understand, too rhythmic to be wind. A scraping sound came from the underside of our bunks, and we began to sleep in shifts, afraid. And then Anna went missing. She had been only 14, traveling with her mother. They searched every inch of the ship, stem to stern, hull to deck. No trace, not a scrap of clothing, not a footprint. Her mother screamed until her voice cracked, then sat alone on the upper deck for hours, rocking back and forth and whispering, "The sea took her." Except the sea hadn't. I know because I found Anna's ribbon tied to the inside of a storage hatch. Inside it, I brought it to the captain. This time he looked uneasy, held it between 2 fingers like it might bite him. "She wandered down there," he said. "Climbed in somehow. Children are strange." "But it was tied," I said, "into a bow." He didn't answer. That night we lost 3 more. Their bunks were empty. No one admitted to hearing anything. But from that moment forward, a hush fell over the ship. The men no longer laughed at the shadows. They avoided the lower decks. Some of them began to sleep up on the open deck, despite the cold and the rain. Still, no one confessed belief. Except Richard. He was a boy of maybe 12, a stowaway we'd taken on in Dover. He clung to my skirts one night with eyes far too knowing for his age. "It doesn't like light," he whispered, "and it won't let us reach land." I knelt beside him. "What do you mean?" He looked past me. "It's not from here, not from any sea. It's older. It wants us to belong to it." I should have taken him more seriously, but I didn't know how. Another week passed. The sea turned against us. Winds screamed and waves pitched the Providence like a toy boat. Ropes snapped, sails tore. We were thrown side to side in the dark, and I felt it again, that presence, not in the corner this time, beneath my feet. Within, the ship, like the boards themselves, were breathing. One night, a lantern shattered. No cause, no flame. Just an explosion of glass and oil just as I passed. I stumbled back, heart hammering, and in that flash, left by the reflection of flame, I saw it again. In the reflection of the porthole. Behind me, inside the glass. But when I turned, there was nothing. We were nearly out of food now. The water barrels had begun to taste sour, and 3 of the crewmen had grown fevered, raving in their sleep. One muttered about black sails in the fog, and died with his hands clenched into fists so tightly we had to break his fingers to bury him. The captain finally ordered a fast. "Land is near," he claimed, though no one had seen it. The compass had begun to spin in slow circles, refusing to settle. Then, one fog-choked morning, the lookout screamed. We all gathered, stumbling onto the deck, blinking through mist and tears and salt. There, at the edge of the horizon, was a shadow. Land? We hoped. We prayed. As we drew closer, the shadow didn't resolve into trees or cliffs. It remained incomplete, unnatural, like a smear of soot on a painting. The waves surged away from it as though recoiling, and something stirred beneath the ship. The hull moaned and a chill swept over us despite the sun. Then came the whispering. It wasn't in any language I knew, but I knew it. It whispered from every plank, every post, every nail driven into the Providence. It whispered from inside our mouths, and with it came the knowing. We would not reach America. We would not go home. We were already somewhere else. Beneath the ship, the water darkened. I saw the shapes, arms, too many of them, reaching. A face, not a face, pressing against the surface like a film stretched thin. And in the sky above us, the sun dimmed, like it too was fleeing. I don't remember screaming. I only remember the silence that followed. When I woke, I was alone. No ship, no sky, only sea. Endless, flat, gray. I floated on a splintered scrap of wood, too small to be real, tied to nothing. The only sound, the whisper of something far below. Eventually, a ship found me, not the Providence. Another, a whaler heading north. They pulled me aboard, half dead, staring and silent. They said I looked like I'd been adrift for weeks. But I knew time had stopped for me in that place, and I never saw the sun again the same way. They say America was built on hope, but I know differently. Some of us never arrived.